The story begins at a Canadian airport. A father named Elliot is traveling with his daughter, Ridley. They are traveling to another city because Elliot has to complete a business deal there. Ridley was a lonely girl without many friends. She had some pimples on her face that constantly bothered her. After a while, the flight arrives at the city they were going to. Upon arrival, Elliot and Ridley get into the car and leave, as Elliot was already late for his meeting. On the way, Elliot thanks his daughter for coming with him and explains to her that she shouldn't worry too much about the pimples on her face and should stop touching them.
The rest of the story begins from there. Elliot explains to her that these pimples are completely normal. Ridley calms down a bit after hearing this. We then learn that her mother died some time ago, and because Ridley hated being alone, she often accompanied her father to work to keep him company. Just then, the man Elliot was supposed to deal with receives a call. He angrily yells at Elliot because he was late for the meeting. Elliot apologizes and makes numerous excuses, but luckily the phone network is down and the call is disconnected.
Elliot breathes a sigh of relief and speeds up so he can get to the man's location quickly. But suddenly, an animal appears on the road, and Elliot's car collides with it. Elliot's car hits the animal, and after the impact, the car spins and stops on the side of the road. After a while, when things calm down a bit, Elliot asks his daughter Ridley if she's okay. Seeing everything is fine, they both get out of the car to look at the animal that caused the collision. There, Ridley sees that it's not an ordinary animal, but a strange horse with a horn on its head. And most shockingly, blue blood is gushing from the animal's wound. Elliot is furious because he's even later for the meeting. But Ridley is astonished to see the mysterious horse, as she has never seen such a creature before. At that very moment, the horse's horn begins to glow a light blue, and without thinking, Ridley reaches out and touches it. As soon as Ridley touches the horse's horn, she suddenly begins to see strange things, scenes she cannot understand. Everything becomes blurred before her eyes. But then she hears Elliot's voice and comes to her senses. She sees her father beating the horse. Ridley screams and tries to stop him. But Elliot doesn't listen and doesn't stop until the horse is completely dead. After a while, they both arrive at Mr. Odell's mansion. Elliot has to finalize his deal. But the strangest thing is that Elliot had brought the horse's corpse in the trunk of his car. Parking the car outside the house, Elliot gets down and goes inside the mansion. There he meets Odell's son, Shepard, with whom he shakes hands, and then greets Odell's wife. Finally, Elliot comes to Odell's room and apologizes for being late. Then it is revealed that Odell has a serious illness and is now in his final days. Elliot is making excuses to get Odell to forgive him. Then, Ridley begins to remember everything that happened to the horse today. Odell notices this and asks Ridley if she's okay. Ridley lies and says she's perfectly fine. Just then, Shepard arrives and asks Ridley about the rash on her face. Elliot interrupts and tells Ridley to go to the bathroom and wash her face to feel a little better. Elliot was actually just telling her to leave. Elliot didn't want Ridley to ruin his deal or tell anyone about what happened. When Ridley got out, she kept looking back at the car and seemed nervous. At that very moment, a palace guard was watching Ridley and felt something strange. When she approaches the guard car and looks inside, she becomes convinced that something is amiss, or perhaps something is hidden inside. Meanwhile, Ridley goes to the bathroom and washes her face. But when she looks in the mirror, she realizes that all the rashes on her face have disappeared. When she looks at the towel, it is stained with blue blood, which is unicorn blood. At this moment, Odell is sitting with Elliot and tells him that he has tried every possible treatment, but nothing has worked. Now he has given up and is waiting for death. Odell also explains that he is making this deal so that he can ensure the safety of his company and his family before he dies. He also entrusts Elliot with the responsibility of his son, Shepard. Ridley, meanwhile, is still perplexed as all the rashes on her face have almost disappeared. This is because of the horse's blue blood. After a moment of reflection, she realizes that the horse's blood is magical and can cure any ailment in the human body. At that moment, the horse's horn, which is in Elliot's car, begins to glow faintly. When Ridley returns to her father, Elliot, he tells her that she should meet Odell's family. Ridley refuses, but Elliot insists, telling her that this deal will be the biggest deal of her life. Ridley asks him about the horse, and Elliot says that if she listens to him and meets Odell's family, he will fulfill her every wish. He is even willing to accompany her to bury the horse. But before they can finish talking, strange movements begin in the car as the horse inside begins to move. Seeing this, Elliot immediately goes to Odell. He apologizes and explains that he has to leave immediately. Elliot wants to take Ridley home now because she looks tired and sick. But Odell becomes angry and says that Elliot always fails to keep his promises. He explains that if he leaves now, it would be a great disgrace to him. Just then, a guard approaches Ridley and asks why she looks so nervous. Ridley is about to answer when a loud noise comes from Elliot's car. Everyone quickly runs out to see what happened. Suddenly, the horse comes back to life and starts braking the car to get out. Seeing this, everyone present freezes in fear and astonishment because the horse's appearance was so strange and frightening. But at that very moment, the guard immediately shoots the horse and kills it on the spot. Elliot is utterly terrified and doesn't know what to do. Then he tells Odell and his family everything, what happened to them on the way and how the horse got there. Everyone is astonished by Elliot's words. No one can understand whether the creature was actually a horse or a unicorn. Then Ridley decides to tell the truth. She tells Odell that the blue blood of that unicorn completely cured the rash on her face. Odell is shocked to hear this and asks Ridley if she feels anything strange in her body. Ridley says, no, everything is perfectly fine. Ridley suggests contacting an animal organization to come and take the horse, but Odell refuses, saying that if that happens, the government will misuse the animal, so he should be the one to take care of it. The situation needs to be handled.
At night, Elliot goes to his daughter's room to check on her. When he sees Ridley, he asks why she's so sad. Ridley explains that when she touched the horse's horn today, she saw some strange things. Elliot doesn't believe her and says she might be hallucinating. He explains to Ridley that she shouldn't think about these things anymore, because the most important thing is to complete their deal. But Ridley was deeply troubled. Ridley quickly gathered some information about the magical horse. She discovered that it was part of an old legend. A royal family kept it as a pet. But when they discovered its magical powers, they decided to kill it to gain its power. After some time, the horse came back to life and took revenge on everyone in that family. Reading this story frightened Ridley even more. When she went to sleep, she began having nightmares. Ridley had a very strange dream. She saw herself running through the forest, but when she looked down, she found herself inside the horse's body. Ridley woke up in fear. She couldn't understand what was happening. As soon as she opened her eyes, some strange-looking men were standing in front of her, and they tied her and her father, Elliot. It turns out they're scientists called in by Odell to test Ridley and Elliot to see what effect the blue blood has had on them. After the tests are complete, Ridley goes to talk to her father and tells him everything about the previous night. Elliot tells Ridley to forget everything and not dwell on these things anymore. Meanwhile, when the doctors finish testing the horse's blood, they discover that it's a very strange blood. It can cure any human illness. The scientists tell Odell this and suggest a live experiment on a human to confirm it. Odell is very excited to hear this. He goes and decides to try the experiment on himself. After a while, the doctors prepare the magical blood and inject Odell with it. Ridley is upset by this, rebukes them, and runs off into the woods to find some peace. Meanwhile, when scientists begin examining the horse's body, they discover that its veins are still functioning. This means they could drain blood from the horse for a longer period of time. Meanwhile, Ridley is wandering through the forest. As she walks, she feels someone watching her. She looks around, but no one is there. Terrified, she runs quickly and returns home. That night, Elliot goes to check on Odell and asks how he is feeling. Odell says he is feeling much better and that the treatment seems to be working. Hearing this, Elliot is overjoyed and wishes him a speedy recovery. Meanwhile, Ridley is still trying to gather more information about the magical horse. Then, Odell's son, Shepard, spots her. Shepard decides to help Ridley. He gives her his printer so she can print out all the pictures and information about the horse and study them comfortably. When Shepard leaves after helping Ridley, his father, Odell, suddenly appears before him. Now he looks completely fine, and his health seems to be even better.
Odell immediately gathers all the doctors and orders them to extract as much blue blood as possible from the horse, so that he will always have the cure and can use it himself. He also says that if this cure becomes public, its price will skyrocket. But the doctors stop him and tell him that this is not possible because this blood has a time limit. After that, it becomes ineffective. Meanwhile, Ridley witnessed what happened to Odell a short while ago and was terrified. But she still mustered up the courage and returned to her research to find out what was really happening to the horse. A few hours later, Ridley received some alarming information. She went straight to Odell and told him to listen carefully. Ridley explained that the medicine Odell had taken was very strong and effective, but if he overdosed, it could kill him. Ridley also explained that people had been using the horse's blood for centuries, just like Odell was doing now. But every time, it ended badly, because the horse would come back to life and kill them, just as expected. Odell ignored any of her words. Instead, he told her that he would show this horse to the whole world, and that she need not speak about it again. Ridley was deeply hurt by Odell's behavior. After a while, Odell's wife came up behind Ridley. She comforted Ridley and said she would try to find a solution. Ridley then got into her car, angry and sad, because her father, Elliot, even he didn't believe her and didn't support her in front of Odell. Meanwhile, Odell and the other doctors prepared the horse. They packed him in a bag to take him out of the mansion and into the city. As Odell and the doctors were preparing to transport the horse, suddenly the power went out in the mansion. At that very moment, the device the doctors had with them started emitting a very strong signal. This signal meant that the horse was still alive. Ridley, who was sitting in the car, got down and looked at the sky. She saw strange colors. Elliot immediately went to the doctors to find out what was happening, but none of the doctors could understand or respond. Suddenly, one doctor went completely mad and attacked Odell. The other guards also tried to stop them with their advanced weapons, but to no avail.
Then Ridley got out of the car and ran for her life. But the horse followed her and refused to let up. Finally, Ridley hid in a stable, but the horse reached there too. The strange thing was that as the horse approached Ridley, he suddenly fell silent. His horn started glowing brightly, and at that very moment, something strange was about to happen. Ridley gently touched the horse. Just then, a female guard arrived, and along with the other guards, started firing at the horse. Finally, the horse ran away, and peace prevailed everywhere. When the situation calmed down, everyone returned inside the mansion. Ridley became furious with her father, Elliot. She yelled that she had warned him many times, but he never believed her. Elliot still ignored her and always followed Odell. Ridley pleaded with them to return the horse to its parents. She said that this was the only way to stop everything, but no one there paid any attention. Instead, Odell decided the exact opposite. Odell decided that he would now hunt down all these magical horses. After this, he formed a team of hunters and set out for the forest to capture these horses. Elliot was preparing to follow them, but Ridley came to him and tried to stop him. She cried and begged him not to go into the forest, but as always, Elliot refused. He said he couldn't leave Odell alone. Meanwhile, Shepard went to the doctor and got a sample of the horse's blood. He believed that using this blood would give him immense strength and enable him to face any danger. Shepard created a special liquid from the blood and began using it on himself. But strange things began to happen to him. His body began to change, and he couldn't understand what was happening to him. At the same time, Ridley also began to feel something terrible. Ridley got into the car and considered running away. But at the last moment, she changed her mind. She couldn't leave her father alone. Just then, Ridley saw a strange bright light in the sky. She immediately got out of the car and ran inside the mansion to look at her research papers to figure out what the light was. After searching for a while, Ridley discovered the truth. She panicked and immediately called her father, Elliot.
She told them to return to the mansion immediately because the horse had set a trap for them in the woods. If they reached that place, none of them would survive. But Elliot didn't answer her call. Then Ridley ran to the mansion guard and explained the gravity of the situation. She said they had to act immediately or everything would be over. Ridley told the guards to immediately contact everyone in the forest because they were in grave danger. Meanwhile, the doctor was trying to cut off the horse's horn. But the strange thing was that the horn was constantly glowing, as if it was filled with energy. Elliot, meanwhile, finally received Ridley's message, but it was too late. Then the horse appeared before them and attacked all the hunters, killing them one by one. Elliot used night vision goggles to save himself. He grabbed Odell, and the two somehow managed to escape. They escaped the forest and reached the mansion, but the danger wasn't over yet.
The horse followed them and broke inside. Just as Elliot and Odell were trying to escape from the mansion, another horse appeared in front of them. Now the two horses surrounded Odell from all sides. Odell showed his cunning and began speaking to the horses in a calm voice. He spoke kindly to them, which calmed one horse down a bit. But as Odell tried to put his hand on its horn, another horse came from behind and attacked him. Odell died on the spot. Just then, Ridley arrived with the younger horse. Her intention was to return him to his mother and father so that they would calm down and stop attacking humans. But Elliot still wasn't convinced.
Even after all that he had seen, he wouldn't listen to Ridley. He said he would call the police, and they would handle the problem. But as soon as he hung up the phone, the network completely disappeared. He ordered the guard and the doctor to take the little horse outside and hand him over to the two horses waiting outside. But the doctor had made a real mistake. Before going outside, he had cut off the little horse's horn. He thought it was no big deal, and the other horses wouldn't know.
After a while, the guard and doctor brought the little horse outside and placed him in front of his parents. But as soon as the two big horses saw their baby and realized that his horn had been cut off, they went berserk. The horse attacked the doctor first and killed him. The guard witnessed this and somehow managed to escape at the last moment. When the others learned of this incident, Shepard said that Ridley could handle the horses, while the others tried to escape. Elliot was surprised to hear this and asked why only Ridley.
Shepard then explained that the horses would never harm Ridley because she was the only person who never coveted their magic powers. Everyone else tried to gain that power, but Ridley always tried to understand it. Things were getting more and more frightening. Elliot became scared and went to Odell's wife and told her that he no longer wanted to be involved in this. He said that it was their mistake and that they had to fix it. At that very moment, strange changes began to occur in Shepard's body. Bright lights began to shine from his eyes, and he began to be influenced by some unknown force. As Ridley and Elliot tried to escape, Shepard appeared in front of them. Shepard grabbed Ridley, but just as he was about to harm her, the two horses suddenly appeared.
They came to take revenge on Shepard. Elliot and Ridley took their chance and ran one way, while Shepard and his mother went another way. They had the little horse's horn. On the way, Shepard's mother asked him what his plan was. Shepard coldly stated that he wasn't going to run away. He explained that he intended to capture both horses and then create new magical powers from their offspring so that he could become the most powerful himself. But then Shepard looked at his device and was shocked. The horse's horn was missing. Then the truth came out. Elliot had stolen the horn.
Elliot was now sitting with Ridley. He was very remorseful and apologized to his daughter. Elliot tearfully told Ridley that he had always prioritized work over her words and never listened to her. He repeatedly apologized, saying he now realized he had been wrong all along. His words deeply touched Ridley. She wept and hugged her father. Just then, Shepard and his mother arrived in the hall to find Elliot and Ridley. After a brief chase, the horses caught Shepard's mother and killed her. Elliot, on the other hand, locked Ridley on the balcony to prevent the horses from reaching her. He stepped forward and deliberately ran in front of the horses to draw their attention and give Ridley a chance to escape.
Ridley finally managed to get out of the balcony after several attempts. As she emerged, she saw the horses running after her father, Elliot, to kill him. Ridley was about to run when Shepard suddenly appeared. He had an arrow in his hand and shot Ridley. He threatened her to come with him. Ridley forced to go with Shepard to the courtyard. They also had the little horse there. Just then, the father horse arrived. He looked furious and in a mood for revenge. But as soon as he saw Ridley, his anger gradually subsided. He came near her and knelt down at her feet, as if he trusted her.
Shepard seized this opportunity. He immediately rushed forward and tied a rope around the horse's leg to restrain him. Ridley stopped him, saying he was making a big mistake and shouldn't have done this. But, as always, Shepard didn't listen. He boasted that he knew what he was doing and that no one could stop him. Suddenly, they heard another voice. It was the mother horse. Everyone turned and saw Elliot with her.
He had used the younger horse's horn to overpower her. But surprisingly, as soon as the horse came closer to Ridley, she too calmed down and lay down at her feet. As soon as Ridley calmed both horses, Shepard, seeing his chance, ran and tied a rope to the mother horse's legs as well. Seeing this, Elliot's anger exploded. He slammed the horn he was holding against Shepard. But Shepard was no longer human. The blood of the horse in his body had made him incredibly powerful.
He blocked Elliot's attack and retaliated with his own arrow. Elliot fell to the ground, and Ridley ran to him in panic. She cried loudly because Elliot was badly wounded and bleeding profusely. But before she could do anything, Shepard tried to attack again. He picked up the horse's horn and moved forward to finish Elliot off. At that very moment, the father horse broke free from his ropes. He ran with all his might and kicked Shepard with his legs.
Shepard leaped into the air and fell to the ground, dying instantly. Elliot was now breathing his last. He held Ridley's hand and whispered that before he died, he wanted to know one thing. What did you see when you first touched the horse's horn? Ridley, wiping away tears, said that she had seen very strange things. She felt that the horse wanted to show her something, the story of his origins, his world, and his pain. She also said that in those visions, she had seen memories of her mother, moments she had lost long ago.
Elliot gave a slight smile. He looked into his daughter's eyes and said, "Forgive me, Ridley." And within seconds, he stopped breathing. Ridley held her father in her arms, crying inconsolably. She couldn't believe she'd never see him again. But then, a miracle happened. The father horse came to her and stood calmly in front of Ridley. He then combined his power with the mother horse, and together they created a bright light with their magical energy. That light reattached the little horse's broken horn, and a few moments later, Elliot's wounds began to heal. Slowly, he opened his eyes. He was alive.
Elliot could now see everything Ridley had seen before, all the visions, the old memories, and the truth of that magical world. Elliot hugged Ridley tightly. There was joy and peace in both their eyes, as if everything was right again. But then the mansion doors opened. The guard came in, followed by the police. They looked around, but there were no horses there anymore. The police arrested Elliot and Ridley and accused them of killing Odell's family. But Elliot and Ridley were no longer afraid.
They were simply happy that they had helped those magical horses and saved their world.
Then something shocking happened. The horses decided to help Elliot and Ridley instead of punishing them. They used their powers to make them disappear from the sight of the police and transport them to safety. The story ends with Elliot and Ridley free, and the magical horses return to their forest. If you like the story, be sure to subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for new videos.